set, go. Three guys, one mic, a lot of heavy. Oh yeah.
Hi, this is Ben Eastman.
And I'm Jeff Crenshaw.
But really, it's my comeback episode for Heavy Set Go.
The first time since January, the day Ryan Murray's son was born, and we did the podcast with Calvin McCarthy and Natalie.
The day Ryan Murray's son was born.
I remember that well.
Wow.
Ryan's probably going to think I'm creepy. But we the reason I remember is because we did a little tribute. And then you interrupted to tell everyone how badly your life is in comparison.
Wow.
Because Ben hasn't felt good, or he hasn't felt like podcasting. And today he's like, you know what, I'm going to podcast.
I'm pretty much like a better podcaster than you. In fact, I'm much more of a podcaster than you. But I've been under the weather for the last few months. In and out of the doctor's office. Almost lost my job. Food poisoning. GERD.
Girth?
Breast reduction. It's just been a total...
Can someone play some violin music for this man? His life is bad. You don't know how bad he's got it.
I got it so bad. You don't know I got it good. I don't know the lyrics to that. Wouldn't it be good to be in your shoes? Yeah.
Even if it was for just one day. So,
wow.
we had your premiere. Calvin and Josh Dietrich had a premiere that day too. For Three Flies.
2 months ago.
Yeah, but you've been like kicking the can down the road since then.
I have been kicking the can down the road, but you know
but
what?
now the can has arrived, and
the can has arrived, and it's time to crack that motherfucker open.
Yeah, let's talk about the premiere.
Premiere went awesome.
For the most part.
Well, I would say that it went off without any hitches when it came to things that actually mattered, which was my film. No, it went really well. Obviously, the funny part is we were playing Jeff's trailer before my film, and I somehow managed to screw up the lights. And they kind of like turned on and off.
You look so flustered.
I did, because those lights are unnecessarily hard. And the best part is I went there when we rented out the place, and I specifically like taught myself how to use the lights.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll liken it to this. One time I went to a beach trip with all of my buddies, and we were there. Kyle Stanton, my good buddy, his friends had got like a oh, sorry. Let me stop for a second. That's cough number one, folks. That's cough number one from Jeff Crenshaw. We were in Florence. They had got a beach house, so they invited us all out to it for a weekend. And we're all hanging out. It's kind of stormy weather, so we're not really outside doing too much. And we're chilling inside, and we all come in, and the dad is watching a movie on TV, and it's Leaving Las Vegas with Elizabeth Shue and Nicolas Cage. Well, there's a sex scene in there, and it's kind of awkward. So like all these high school boys walk in, and the dad's like watching it, and the scene's on, and I remember the dad like fiddling with the controller, like he could not find the right button at that right moment, even though, I mean, it's pretty obvious what button to, either turn it off or change the channel, right? Mm-hmm. But you're so flustered in that moment that you can't find the right button to choose. I liken it to that moment because it was like I knew exactly how to do the lights, but in that moment, I was like, what do I do? And, well, the lights turned on for a moment.
Eyes are on me!
As Jeff Crenshaw's trailer rolled, which is the best part, is that that's not the only time Ben Eastman has screwed over Jeff Crenshaw, showing yet again another fucking Truffle Runners trailer. I mean, next time when I have my next film, maybe we'll have the third trailer for Truffle Runners.
I hope not.
Well,
the Alan's coming over for ADR.
Oh man, let's talk about Alan. Hi, I'm Alan. I don't have a job. I have a dog. I can't do things that I'm obligated to do before because I make bad decisions. Just kidding.
I have a dog now. I can't do what I promised.
I love you, Alan. Alan
love him
actually
too.
was going to be on this podcast, but he said he had a new dog, so he couldn't.
So why can't you come? I have a dog. You can't put it in a kennel and like put food in the kennel and put a fan in front of it.
I mean, I
have a dog.
I said, Alan, bring your dog. We'll hang out with the dog. Hey, who doesn't love a little puppy, right? Apparently, he couldn't bring the puppy for some reason, unbeknownst to him just having a good reason not to show up.
Well, it turned out to be good because shat everywhere.
They had the dog shat everywhere. So, but whatever. I miss Alan.
Me too.
Really, this is me lashing out because I miss Alan.
I miss him too.
And I kind of want to meet his dog. But I kind of miss him too.
I care less about that and more about finishing ADR for my film.
All right, and moving on to other things. Anyways, the premiere went really well. I think people laughed pretty hard.
Except when you fucked up the lights and when you kept the volume down really low on my trailer.
Okay, anyways, don't care about your trailer.
You should, you bastard.
No one cares about Truffle Runners. Everyone cares about my film. The Card. It's a masterpiece. No, if this is really how I was... if I wasn't such a jokester, I'd be the biggest.
You would be.
But no, it went well. There was a lot of people there.
Well.
A lot of people showed up. And
a shitload left right after your film played and before Calvin's and Josh's did, which I thought was horrible.
Yeah. I didn't
Come on,
really care
people.
for that.
Stay for everything. Don't be dicks.
Well, I'm not going to say much more on that subject, but it was a good time. A good time had by all.
Absolutely.
Man, wow, this is going great. I have so much to share. But you know what? I do want to talk about a recent movie we saw, Get Out.
That was a great movie.
Wasn't it?
Yes. It was probably the best horror film I've seen in a long time.
In a while. And lately, horror has been kind of coming back as far as mainstream horror, which is awesome. Or at least indie horror is coming mainstream. I can think of films recently that were actually really great when it comes to scary movies.
What's the one that had Tiptoe Through the Tulips?
Insidious.
I liked Insidious.
Now I think they have 3 Insidiouses
I'm
out
good
there.
with the first one.
I didn't see the sequels, but I loved the first one. Now you may not agree, but I really liked The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2. And recently I saw another film called Don't Breathe, which was actually really good. And
what was that about?
Don't Breathe had Stephen Lang in it, and it was about this gang that is gonna burglarize a house, and steal this vet. This vet had this big settlement from the army, and he's blind, and so they were gonna sneak into the house and steal this money, so that they could leave town and never look back, because it was this huge settlement and they thought they could do it. And turns out this is not a guy that you want to steal from, even though he's blind. So the whole film is essentially him. It's like Don't Breathe. So he's blind, but obviously because he's blind, his senses are extremely sensitive for touch and feel and hearing, and touch and feel, same thing, but hearing. So they have to they're in the house, in different places in the house, and they have to stand still and not make a sound. So the film's really suspenseful. It's a pretty fun film.
Gotcha.
But named those few, I've been told that The Witch is a really good scary film. I have not seen that yet. That is
One
on my
second.
to-watch list.
Back to Don't Breathe.
Yeah.
When you say that, I'm picturing another horror movie that we could make. And only instead of some random veteran with side issues, it'd be about some kids breaking into John McCain's house, and then he goes around with his arms karate chopping him.
Friends! Friends!
My friends! My friend from across the aisle.
And like the after credits scene is him signing a letter for with my good friend Netanyahu. Anyways, yeah. But The Witch, I hear, is a really good film. I've been wanting to see that.
I've heard the last two Shyamalan movies have been good.
Yeah, I heard
Which
Split
surprises me.
was good. I've heard mixed things about The Visit, but I definitely want to give him a shot. I mean, I'll be the first to say that I think Signs is a fantastic film. It's always been a guilty pleasure of mine. Unbreakable is another film I like of his. Obviously, Sixth Sense is good, even though it doesn't age very well. I don't think. But I think that's partly because the twist just seems so passé now. For its time, it was...
Everyone knows what the twist is now, but that's the downfall of having twist.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems... now the twist doesn't seem like... But maybe that's because I've grown accustomed to it or something.
What about Lady in the Water, where it turns out that Shyamalan's writing is going to save the world? Your writing is going to inspire a president someday, and that president is going to make the entire world a better place.
You know, it's funny. Go
write Shyamalan. Shyamalan played the writer whose writings changed.
I remember seeing that in theaters at the Lloyd Center Theater, not the one inside, but the one outside, with my grandma. And I actually remember liking it when I saw it then. Obviously, I haven't seen it since, and now I can just only imagine how bad it actually is. But it had Paul Giamatti in it, and I like Paul Giamatti.
There's a scene where that Shyamalan got him to, like, I think grab his crotch and like smile and make this weird face. He looks like a toddler that had to go to the bathroom. But
wow, I don't remember that, but I do remember
Giamatti.
After we saw that movie, Lady in the Water, there was people out in the lobby, I think from the film studio, that were asking our opinions of it. And I remember thinking, yeah, that was awesome. And like there was like 3 guys next to me. That was the worst piece of shit I've ever seen. And I was like, hey, it's a lady in the water. I also really kind of liked Bryce Dallas Howard at that time, so maybe that was...
Hey, we all have our shameful memories. I remember getting really pissed off at Roger Ebert because he gave the Scooby-Doo movie a bad review. What to see now? And then years later, I see that it's a complete piece of shit.
Roger Ebert always was funny because, for the most part, he was a great barometer for taste, and usually you could count on him. Sometimes we disagreed. But I always thought it was funny. He's known for having his love affair with Alex Proyas, or however you pronounce his name. And Alex Proyas is the guy that made The Crow, and he also made Dark City, 2 of which films are pretty good. Dark City being much better than The Crow. But he also made like Knowing with Nick Cage and like Gods of Egypt. And
I think he was dead by the time Gods of Egypt.
Oh, he was. But I was just saying some of the films that that guy had made. He's kind of been a hack since he made like Dark City. Oh, and he did iRobot too. He did iRobot.
I actually liked iRobot.
Yeah, that's fun. But there was also a part like I remember like reading some people talking about how he loved Knowing. That was like Roger Ebert's favorite film of that year. Knowing.
Wow, really?
I remember watching that with you and kind of liking some of the vibe, and then it just was like the most ridiculous thing ever. And
the scene where there's a big forest fire and all the CG creatures start charging at their cabin.
Yeah, what? And
a moose with a little bit of smoke.
But I remember like
the antlers.
Roger Ebert like absolutely loved that movie. And it, he got so much flack for that. because Alex Proyas just made he made a few good films, but he also made some really bad films. But yet Roger Ebert gave those really bad films really good grades. And I remember that being kind of just a funny thing. He drank the Kool-Aid. It's like me. I'm a huge John Carpenter fan, but he's made some fucking stinkers that are stinkers.
Well, I loved Ebert, but he was not always right. He kind of went along with the fad of critics not liking Mommy Dearest, which I think is a fantastic film.
Oh, I've read a few old reviews of his that were just what? He didn't like that? But yeah.
He didn't like My Fellow Americans, but no one remembers My Fellow Americans.
I think Mommy Dearest was ahead of his time.
Could have been. I think it's a great movie, and I think when you watch it yourself, you'll agree with me.
I can't wait to watch it.
Did you bring it? Or?
No, I didn't bring it.
Snap.
But we're enjoying watching Feud, which is so far pretty good.
Yeah.
And Feud is about Joan Collins and Betty Davis.
Joan Crawford.
Joan Crawford.
Joan Collins.
Is Joan Collins a porn star?
I don't know.
I don't even know anymore. I don't even know my own name. Yesterday I mixed up Chet Walker with Chet Baker. What am I going to do now?
I don't even know who Chet Walker is.
I don't think it's anyone, really. But I'm sure there's a Chet Walker out there.
And they're saying, fuck you, Ben! I am somebody. I'm a father and a son, and they love me.
And the Holy Spirit.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Chet Walker's a bit of an egotist.
Whoa. We got a little religious there. Let's try to reel it back in. Back to my point, the start of this whole conversation, is that we saw Get Out.
Great
I want to
film.
reel it back there. And it was really great. And I was really surprised by how good it was. I thought that it was really funny. It was pretty thrilling. I wouldn't necessarily call it a scary film, but
It's creepy, though.
it's very creepy, very suspenseful. I would call it more a suspense thriller as opposed to a straight out horror film. Although
Yeah.
the things that are happening in it are
Pretty
pretty
horrific.
horrific. Yeah. So, but pretty darn good.
Absolutely. I didn't get that whole controversy. Samuel L. Jackson. Why is there a black British guy in the lead, not an African American?
Yeah, it's okay, draw your lines in the sand somewhere, buddy.
It's
Jeez Louise.
it's like, come on, okay, I love Samuel L. Jackson.
Me too.
But, his point was, and I'm not qualified to talk about it because I'm not black, but his point was, how can...
Are you black-splaining it?
Shut up.
Black-splain it to me.
No. Jeff's playing it to you.
Oh, okay.
His point was a black British dude couldn't possibly supposedly England has no racial issues, so he couldn't possibly know the trials of what it's like to be an African American, because being black in Britain is apparently perfect, because they've allowed interracial relationships in England for 100 years, which I find a little... I don't know for sure, but...
I mean, one could argue that technically by Samuel Jackson condemning that choice to make that guy in that film could be his own brand of receiving racial hate, and I remember that guy, I saw an interview with him where he was like, I don't get it, I'm too black for I'm too black for something and I'm too white for something else. It's just...
But what are you talking about?
He said he was like... I forget the exact quote, but he was like, I'm too too black for Britain, but too white for America or something.
Oh, yeah.
And they're saying he's not black enough or something. Or
like I said, I think the point he was trying to make, and I don't agree with it, but that he couldn't play the role adequately because he wouldn't be able to approach it from the experience of a black American guy.
That's such a bullshit excuse.
One, it's even if that were the case, the dude is an actor.
Yeah.
It's his job to find the motivations and the frame of mind of his characters and portray it.
Yeah, that's like saying in order for an actor to be a gay character, he has to be gay himself.
No, actually, I have an even better comparison that will point out how ridiculous Jackson's claim is. It's like saying all the teenagers that were ever in a Friday the 13th movie have to have been stalked and murdered by a guy wearing a hockey mask.
Yeah.
You do not know the experience
of being stalked and murdered by Jason Voorhees until you've actually been stalked and murdered.
And I get that there are certain elements to being black or a minority in America that you and I wouldn't be privy to.
Yeah. Have I ever told my Sam Jackson story on a podcast?
I don't know. I don't remember. I think you may have, but go ahead.
We better segue into it because it's the right time.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Now is the right time to tell my Samuel L. Jackson story.
Go ahead.
All right. So, my Samuel L. Jackson story. What? Don't look at me like that, you little cutie. You little handsome devil. You look like John Candy ate himself.
So I guess he's not going to tell the Sam Jackson story.
I am going to tell the Sam Jackson story. All right. So, early 2000s, the Reserve Golf Course, Hillsboro, Oregon. My grandma, she lives on that golf course. She has nothing to do with the story, but I thought I would name drop. And essentially, we would stay up at the 18th hole during the reserve. They used to have a tournament called the Fred Meyer Challenge, in which they'd have a whole bunch of star golf players, and they'd have what's called a Pro-Am. A Pro-Am is essentially if you're rich enough to want to play with the pros, you could get a foursome that would then play with one pro golfer and usually a personality, whether it's a local newscaster or a movie star or, famous actor, movie star, famous actor, singer, whatever.
Screw Samuel L. Jackson. I want to golf with Jeff Gianola.
Jeff Gianoli's... God, man, I can't talk today. Jeff Gianola is a badass mother trucker, okay? Brought to you by CBS News. Coin. Channel 6. Alright. Samuel L. Jackson was there. Now, he was really big then. Obviously, I think he's a lot bigger now. That he probably wouldn't do something like that. But he was in the golf tournament, and everyone was obviously trying to get his autograph.
He was in Pulp Fiction by then.
He definitely was a badass motherfucker by then. So, that's what he says in the movie. So a whole bunch of crowds were following him, and I was up at the 18th hole. That's where my grandfather was doing what they call marshalling. He would hold up the quiet signs to make sure when people were teeing off that crowds weren't, making lots of noise. And so we were up there at the 18th hole. and I see Samuel L. Jackson cut across the other hole to go to the bathroom. Well, no one saw Samuel L. Jackson do that. I guess I was the only one that saw because I went over to try and meet him. And there was still a crowd of people way behind. And so I snuck over. I'm probably only like, I can't be more than 12 years old, I don't think. And I had a golf ball that I was going to have him sign. And I see he's in a porta potty. And so I didn't want to go straight up to the porta potty because that might be weird. So instead, I thought this house somehow would not be weird. I'd just be waiting for him at the tree that's outside the porta potty. Well, he opens up the door, and so I walk up to him and I say, Mr. Jackson, can I have your autograph? And which is still weird because he just still came right out of the bathroom. And he looks down at me, and he kind of like does a Samuel L. Jackson laugh, and then in the most Samuel L. Jackson voice possible, he's like, my hands, they're all shitty, boy. And so that's the end of the story. That's the day that Samuel L. Jackson cussed at me.
Yeah.
Which I forgot that even happened until like years later. Once I realized how awesome that actually was.
Oh, yeah.
But it was funny that really did happen.
That's a pretty funny story.
Yep.
And coming up in a few days, we're going to be going to Mr. Theater again to watch Peter J. Lewis's production of Clue.
Oh, yeah. I love Clue.
I think I saw part of it once during like the first iteration of Truffle Runners. When I was...
Oh, really? The movie?
Yeah. It was actually, and it had it playing in his room.
Oh, but you've never seen the full thing?
No. But I was waiting for, we were waiting for one of the actresses to show up.
Mm-hmm.
Or the actress to show up, and she didn't that day. But, But yeah.
It's, Clue's really fun. I love the game, obviously, but the movie's really funny. And one thing I remember about the movie is that, like the game, spoiler alert, has many different endings.
Oh, it does?
And the way that they go about it is really funny. Now, I remember like getting a kick out of that kind of self-referential fourth wall breaking thing when I was younger, so I don't know how it really plays out now, but the people seem to really still like Clue. It's kind of a cult classic.
I could see how they do that in a film, but I'm curious to see how they're going to do it on stage.
Yeah, I'm curious too, but you know, Mr. Theater, I mean, we saw them when they did The Room, and The Room was fantastic. They did it great justice.
Yeah.
And Peter J. Lewis, I mean, I'm sure he's a great director. He's a wonderful actor, so if he's half as good as director as he is an actor, that would be an awesome play. So
very entertaining as an actor.
Yeah, so
he was the
can't wait for that.
First version of the psychiatrist.
Yes.
I'm
a psychiatrist.
Why are you such to play psychiatrist with us?
Because you asked.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're also, not to give too many details away, but we also have a film that we're working on now.
Yeah. A film that we've been working on for a while, but we're starting to actually finally get some stuff rolling with, although we had some mishaps with some camera equipment that has taken me a while to save up to get that all fixed out. So
that he's a name. It's about a guy that you may have seen in the news.
Yeah.
Guardian Shield.
Yes, Guardian Shield.
I'm sure you're familiar with him to some extent.
Yeah, Guardian Shield is a local superhero.
Or he used to be.
Well, yeah. I'd still call him local. He's in Canby, but it's not quite local as in our backyard. One night when Jeff and I were, for a long time there when I was working at Best Buy, we'd hang out pretty late when I didn't have a set schedule. And one time we were coming home like at 2 a.m, and literally we're driving him home, and I saw a man in spandex with a huge shield walking by on the road, and I was like, Jeff, did you see that? And I don't remember if you had saw it, but we were like, oh my God, we gotta turn around, and we gotta. I thought it was so late that I was hallucinating what I saw. I remember like we turned around like, oh my god, man, we're not gonna find him. He must be gone. And we like went this one area and there he was walking around. Oh my god! And he like turned around and stepped out of the side of the road and like saluted us as we went by. And I was like, dude! I remember posting a Facebook status about it, which obviously a whole bunch of people were like, whoa! And another person that I know, Alex, who's now dating my roommate, had lived there in that same apartment complex as Jeff.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he did.
Wow.
And he had seen him, and he knew his name was Guardian Shield. So I did my best to Facebook just to see if maybe he had a Guardian Shield Facebook, and lo and behold, he did. And we talked, and we've actually shot with him before. Really great guy, and you know he's really stoked about doing the film, and.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's been just a few years. We've just been putting it off, and some things, you know, just bumps and here's and there, excuses all you want. But anyways, now Jeff and I have it in our schedule that are pretty open to get it taken care of. So we're gonna go down, shoot with him a few nights in Canby, and get that film rolling, and that'll be a fun little documentary. I think people will really like it.
I think if ideally, I'd love to have it ready. To premiere alongside with Truffle Runners.
Yeah, me too.
That'd be cool.
It'd be fun to have two films. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun too, because I think we're gonna like co-direct that one, and really like work on it like as side by side, and that'll be kind of fun. We haven't done that in a while. I mean, of course, you helped me immensely on my film, and I helped you on your film, but this is gonna be one that we're gonna kind of like really go in. Boom.
Yeah.
Together, and that'll be fun. We haven't done that in quite a few films, so
yeah.
That'll be fun to get that rolling.
I agree. It will be fun.
And short documentaries are cool to make.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how short it is once we get all our stuff together.
Yeah, that's true. It could be, you know, we could end up making a longer movie than that. But documentaries in general are fun to make because you have an interesting subject. And the film almost kind of makes itself.
I've never made a documentary before, so but I can already see, having watched them, that I know how to do it.
Yeah, I mean I've made a few, and not that I'm a master of any means, because I'm not, but I think they're really fun because it's like the sky's the limit almost. You know, you can really have fun with it. And I remember taking a class in college. Documentary production. I opted for documentary production over regular film production because I thought that would help me really learn a lot more about editing and sequencing and pacing. And I had heard film production wasn't really editing based and story based. It was more kind of a ground up. And since I already knew a little bit, I didn't want to have to like backtrack, kind of. From what I had heard from people that had taken the class.
Yeah.
So when I took my documentary production class, I had heard that the teacher was kind of a hard ass, but was like, we would really give you great feedback. And I thought, what a great way to throw myself into learning production. So that teacher was Steve Amon, who is the producer and host of Oregon Field Guide on OPB. And he is retiring after 28 seasons this year. And he was awesome to have as a teacher. Learned so much from him. He was so knowledgeable about everything. So, you know, long story short, documentaries are really fun to make. But learning how to make a documentary has really informed me on how to make film in general. But yeah. I got an idea. Let's name some of our favorite underrated films.
Oh, you go first.
Oh, me first?
I'm a gentleman.
Wow, and a scholar. Underrated, most underrated. Wow. Okay, now give me a second here. If I had to choose one of the most underrated films that I've ever seen, well, I'll go for it. I'll go for it straight out the gate. It's one of my top 5 favorite films. The Burbs.
The Burbs.
The Burbs, and I talk about it a lot. I'm constantly posting scenes from it. That movie is like a warm blanket on a cold Sunday afternoon. Like,
you love that movie.
I absolutely love that movie. I think it is so funny. It has Tom Hanks and Bruce Dern and Carrie Fisher.
Oh, I forgot she's in that.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's a dark comedy. Has equal parts scary, but also really, really funny slapstick humor. And not a lot of people reference it. I do know a few people that really love it as much
Why
as I
doesn't
do.
anyone reference this film?
Yeah. Yes. That's the perfect one.
Yeah.
Because it's, people talk about Tom Hanks films all the time, and I never hear The Burbs mentioned. I don't know why. It's my favorite Tom Hanks film. It's not necessarily my favorite Tom Hanks performance, but man, when I grew up, I watched Turner and Hooch and The Burbs all the time with Tom Hanks.
They're both great. I watched Turner and Hooch all the time. I never saw The Burbs until you showed it to me.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
The way I love, and which I am fortunate, hopefully, knock on wood, Hollywood Theater is playing The Burbs in 35 millimeter. We're going to be going to see it, and
When is that again?
April 15th, day before my birthday.
That's right.
And Joe Dante, the director, is going to be there as well too, which is amazing. He also made The Howling, Gremlins, Small Soldiers, which was another film I loved growing up. That was like, when that came out, I couldn't think of a more perfect film when I was at that age.
I've never seen it. I've heard it's a lot like Toy Story.
Yeah, I mean, like, it essentially is, and it definitely hasn't aged as well as Toy Story. But when Small Soldiers came out, that was my shit.
Oh, wow.
That was my shit. But anyways, we're going to get to meet Joe Dante. Joe Dante is great. He's from that Roger Corman school of filmmakers. So, very referential of other films and styles. The film is kind of equal parts Twilight Zone meets equal parts Andy Griffith meets horror like goth and Roger Corman. It's just a whole bunch
and
of...
This is The Burbs.
The Burbs, yes.
I definitely see what
I
you're
love
talking
the
about there.
music that they use in there. The music score of the film is fantastic, but they also use some of my favorite one of my favorite scores of all time from Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in the West. And it just all works. Everything about that film works for me. So, long story short, The Burbs, one of my favorite underrated films of all time.
It's really entertaining.
It is.
That little gray-haired guy. What have you done with my skull?
Oh, dude. And I'll say the part that, I quote that film all the time. Red sky at night, sailor's delight.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the part in the beginning where they're introducing all the characters in the neighborhood. They go to Queenie, the old guy and his dog, and the dog's crapping on everyone else's lawn. And Tom Hanks is watching all this happen, and Tom Hanks looks over and he sees Corey Feldman, who's painting his house. Corey Feldman comes up, he sets the paint on top of the speaker, and the paint goes all over the speaker, and he has these like huge garden gloves on. And he puts it on, and he starts playing this music and doing air guitar, and it's like this badass like metal music. And then what happens is he turns on the music. Sorry, pause.
What time is it?
I don't know. Sorry.
It's 9:16.
Oh, okay. In a little bit. Okay. My favorite part is when Tom Hanks is watching all these people in the neighborhood from his window it's the beginning of the film. They're introducing all the characters, and Corey Feldman is like going to paint his house, and he's on his porch, and he sets this paint down, and the paint goes all over the speaker, and then he presses play, and he starts doing air guitar to this like badass metal song, and the next shot is Bruce Dern looking as badass as ever coming out of his front door, and it's like and he's like slowly puts on this aviator glasses, and then his like hot wife comes out and passes him the flag, and then just this, oh god, it's so great. They put the flag up and he steps into the dog crap and Walter, oh god, I love that film. It's like my favorite scene in movie history. But yeah, come on. What do you got for me?
What do I have for you?
Oh, I know you got an underrated gem for me.
Not only underrated, but deeply underrated.
Oh.
Unfairly assailed by... Ben knows. Unfairly assailed for years by critics. It has a horrible reputation. But Ben and I, last year, we went to this place in Lloyd Center called Suncoast Videos.
Oh, hell yeah.
They have old DVDs. You can get Blu-rays there for, used as well for a discounted price.
The place is a sanctuary.
It is. I love the place, and I intend to go there again soon. But I picked up a copy of Mommy Dearest starring Faye Dunaway. And
No more fire Haggis!
That's what I had heard about the film in the past.
Yeah.
And I had all these people tell me, oh, it's one of the worst films ever made. And it's you have to see it to believe it. It's bad. I'd read reviews tearing it apart. Ebert said, I can't think of any reason anyone would want to see this film. And Ebert said that, and I love Ebert, but fucking wrong. The film pretty much destroyed... Like, she did stuff after that, but she was, like, in the 70s, Faye Dunaway was it. She was like a huge upcoming star.
Yeah.
Along comes Mommy Dearest, it wrecked her career, which I think is incredibly unfair because I thought that movie, it delivered on everything it was trying to do. There are scenes where her performance is campy, but it's campy and horrifying at the same time. It's a very disturbing film about child abuse, and even when it's not about child abuse, when Joan Crawford is on screen, there's a certain tension to her character. She carries this weight of this gravitas, I guess you'd say, that gives you a little bit of pause, like something is not quite right with this woman. And even there's a scene where she gets her kid from a baby broker, which is someone who through some means or another finds children to give them to people who aren't necessarily qualified to adopt under the rules of the normal adoption agencies. And in the 40s, Joan Crawford was turned down mostly because she was a single woman adopting a kid. They turned down single people for adoption back in the day.
Wow.
And she ended up going through alternative routes to get the kids, but throughout the movie, she treats the kids like absolute shit in various ways. But at the same time, Faye Dunaway is so captivating, and you can't look away from her.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give away anything, but towards the end, as the main character is an adult, you kind of think there's a reconciliation between the mother and the daughter, but I won't give away anything, but it's a great movie.
Huh.
And it's like its reputation that it's this piece of shit is not deserved. And yeah, things like no wire hangers it comes across kind of cheesy out of the context of the full film, but when you see like how this kid is treated,
it makes
overall
sense.
it fits into what this girl goes through. And honestly, I've seen people have meltdowns similar to the no wire hangers thing, and it's not funny.
No,
when it's real life.
Yeah, I mean,
it's terrifying.
We've all had those moments, but I don't know if it's quite that magnitude. But we know how just one little straw that breaks the camel's back can make someone act pretty irrational. I will say.
Question. Oh, sorry.
I will say that's funny that you re-referenced that, because I've never seen Mommy Dearest. Of course, I know that quote. Mm-hmm. It's a very famous quote. But I think of it the same respect as some of the quotes from Jerry Maguire, just because it's a really quotable movie. Mm-hmm. Like,
you had me at hello.
You had me at hello.
Show me the money.
Show me the money. It's like, those are like so quotable, but I always thought, you had me at hello. Boy, I watched that movie the first time a few years ago. Mm-hmm. Man, that film got me. Holy shit.
It's really good, huh?
It is. It was a great film.
I haven't seen it in years.
That quote, you had me at hello, oh my, man, lump in my throat, like you would not believe. Anyways, I think it's funny. Sometimes quotes can really be taken out of context, and in and of itself kind of ruin a reputation of a film, because in the movie, sometimes they work really well.
My question, and that this isn't a spoiler necessarily. If you've heard about the scene, I'm sure, and if you thought about the scene, even not having seen the movie, I'm sure it's crossed your mind. The mother is screaming at this kid and whipping her for having wire hangers in her closet, and she's so pissed off. But who bought the wire hangers to begin with?
Exactly, yeah.
Like, who would have put those in there?
Yeah. No, I've thought about that. Every time I hear the quote, I'm just thinking like, well, this kid didn't go out and buy the wire hangers.
No.
Like, no, who the fuck buys wire hangers? No. Wire hangers are what's there because that's what your grandma gave you to hang your clothes because your mom didn't have any hangers or something. Like, like, it's funny.
They're like, they're what they give you at dry cleaners when you cleaners when your stuff comes back.
Is that the wire with like the white tubing on the? Yeah. Before, I don't know if you were finished yet, but before I forget, I was trying to think of a few more underrated films, and I have two. Yeah. So I'm going to say the names of them so I remember to talk about both of them. Quentin Tarantino's Jackie Brown and David Fincher's Zodiac. Also two of my favorite films.
Oh, now that you said that I have to add another one. Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight.
Yeah. Although it's fairly recent release.
It is.
But yes.
But it's among the cinema snobs of the world. It's being it's been highly disregarded, and among regular people, they disregard it. These people that all flocked to Django Unchained, which I thought was underwhelming, honestly.
I love Django, but it pales in comparison to Hateful Eight. And I say that having loved Django Unchained, thought it was one of the best films of that year that it came out. But yes, so briefly, Jackie Brown, although it's funny, as of late, I think a lot more people are willing to say they like Jackie Brown. Don't know if that's just because they want to be like, oh, no one likes Jackie Brown. That makes me sound like an asshole. Just maybe
kind of like
me.
you.
I know, right? No, and I any day of the week I could give you my favorite Quentin Tarantino film. Ultimately, I think it'll always be Pulp Fiction, just because that film is just great. But Jackie Brown's so close to that for me. And I don't know what it is about Jackie Brown, but it is another one of those warm blanket on a cold Sunday afternoon movies for me. I can put it on. The music is so good. The music is like my era of like early 70s soul, Delphonics, Across 110th Street. That's not the Delphonics, but that song's in there, that opening scene. It's got Pam Grier, who's an absolute fox, but she's also such an amazing actress.
And Ben has met her.
Met her since since I did my last podcast, which she was an absolute hoot. Seriously, one of the most entertaining people I've ever seen do a Q&A. But she's great in it. We got Michael Keaton in it. We've got the great Robert Forster as bail bondsman Max Cherry, which steals the entire film. He is such a great actor. Love that guy. And he was nominated for his Best Supporting Actor for that film. I don't think he won, though, but he was nominated. It's got Sam Jackson, Robert De Niro, Jane Fonda. Jane Fonda? Is that the daughter?
Bridget Fonda.
Bridget Fonda's the daughter. Jane Fonda is the mother.
If you really want to get technical, Jane Fonda's the daughter. Bridget Fonda's the granddaughter of Henry Fonda.
Henry Fonda. No.
Henry's the original Fonda.
And Peter Fonda is Jane
Jane's
Fonda's brother?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Wow. La Fonda.
The Fondas.
The Fondas.
I'm fond of them.
But Jackie Brown is it's a great film. It's really long, but it's just a good little, like, caper kind of thriller light. But it's comedic, and it's Quentin Tarantino. Being Quentin Tarantino, the action in his movies is not action, but the dialogue. That, you go there, and he always has great conversations in his films. Which brings me to your Hateful Eight, which is, I would agree, is very underrated. And,
yes.
And yeah, I got great reviews when it came out, but a lot of people think it's his worst film. And I don't agree.
Bullshit.
I don't agree.
It's not only not one of his worst, it's in his top, I'd say 2 or 3 of
for
his
me,
best.
I'm thinking Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown, Hateful Eight. And
Yeah.
I really honestly do think that.
For me, it's Pulp Fiction and Hateful Eight, and I'm not sure what my third would be. But I love Jackie Brown, but I'm just not. I love a lot of his movies.
Yeah, well, I can honestly say I love every one of his movies, even though Death Proof is easily his worst. And there's a lot I don't like about Death Proof, but Kurt Russell is awesome and the ending's awesome. So
One of my friends said he thought Hateful Eight was Tarantino's most mean-spirited movie.
Maybe.
I don't see it. There's this guy that keeps punching an outlaw prisoner who happens to be a woman. If there was an outlaw prisoner the guy had in the movie that was a male who kept acting up like that, he'd get punched as well.
Yeah, there is some violence towards women in the movie.
And men.
And men, yes, there's violence in the movie.
Yeah.
And it got a little bit of a bad rap for that. I'm not quite sure why, because she was ruthless and she was a fucking criminal. But
She was evil.
but besides that, that's like not even a footnote for the movie, because all the acting's great. We got Kurt Russell with the biggest fucking mustache you've ever seen.
Breaking a priceless antique guitar.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. And he's great.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell's the best actor of all time, in my opinion. So anytime he's on the screen is a good time, even in a bad movie. But the movie's not bad. It's great.
It is.
And I know your favorite scene, because it's my favorite scene too. And it doesn't even have to do with him or Jennifer Jason Leigh, who stole the movie.
I think she should have won the Oscar for that.
I agree.
Even though I loved Kate Winslet and Steve Jobs, I think Jennifer Jason Leigh should have won that Oscar. But there's a scene. Let's not give it away, but there's a very strong scene between Samuel L. Jackson and Bruce Dern.
Yep.
That is absolutely impeccable.
Yep.
It might be my favorite Quentin Tarantino scene.
Honestly, it's up there. And I remember seeing that in theaters. We were lucky enough to be among the few that saw it in 70 millimeter at that roadshow version at the Hollywood Theater, because that thing was selling out. I remember I bought tickets for that months in advance.
We saw that 2 days before Tarantino actually showed up at
Tarantino showed up at the Hollywood for one of those showings.
Like a couple days after we saw it.
Yeah, we saw it a few days before. We were like, God dang it. But yeah, when I saw that scene, I almost blacked out. It was so great. I almost pulled the Jeff Crenshaw. But I was like, I almost passed out. It was so damn great. Anyways, watch Hateful Eight. That scene between Bruce Dern and Samuel L. Jackson is worth the price of admission alone.
Oh, yeah.
Let alone the movie's great. So back to mine, because I love hearing the sound of my own voice. David Fincher, Zodiac, for a while was one of my favorite, or was like my favorite film. And it's so good. Zodiac Killer, San Francisco, I think late 60s, early 70s. Has Jake Gyllenhaal, Robert Downey Jr., and Mark Ruffalo. And it is the pinnacle of suspense thrillers. And what I didn't realize is how much CG was done in that movie. I watched it behind the featurette that blew my mind, but it's the perfect epitome of great CG because
of how to use CG.
Of how to use it. Because I wouldn't have known unless I saw the featurette. That's how seamless the CG was in that movie for me. And now I watch it now, I'm thinking, oh yeah, there's no way they could do that without not being CG.
Well, it takes place in the 60s in San Francisco, or 70s.
I forget. It's like late 60s, early 70s, one of those.
And getting those huge wide-scale shots of 1960s San Francisco was impossible.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not the 60s anymore. But the film is so great. It's a great slow burn, and I love suspense thrillers where it's like a whodunit. And it is acted well, and obviously it's a David Fincher movie, so it looks amazing. The visuals are one of a kind. And the scenes, the film is kind of spread out, with Jake Gyllenhaal being obsessed about cracking the code of the Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac Killer would put these puzzles in, and he would send these puzzles to the San Francisco Chronicle or something, and he would make them post the puzzles in their paper, or else he would kill another victim. And they were supposed to crack the code in the puzzle, or else he would kill another victim. So the film has this running this is what's going on, but then it obviously is showing the killings that this guy's doing. And I remember the killings being so intense.
Brutal.
Especially, there's one where there's a couple having a picnic near a river or a lake, and it has no music, and it's so quiet and natural, and they look from afar, and they're laying down they're about to make out or something, and they both see this figure dressed up from afar. They're like, what's that? Hey, who are you? And then he kind of disappears, and then he's walking up towards them. No music. There's no music, and it's like oh crap! This is clearly the guy that's gonna kill them. They're gonna die right now. And I remember this I remember him stabbing them. He tied them up and then stabbed them, and no blood, I don't believe, but seeing it was just without the music and there was such an unflinching cut on them stabbing them. Mm-hmm. I still this day it's no film, and I've seen a lot of gory films, but no film's ever holy, that made me sick to my stomach. It was so well done, but the film's great. It's really great, and it came out early, in a February, March, April, and it just didn't get it got great reviews, but it just didn't get any traction. I don't know why the heck it didn't come out later in the year, because I think it would have had a chance. But and sometimes films that come out early in the year do get recognized later in the year, Wes Anderson's Grand Budapest Hotel.
Oh, yeah.
That came out really early in the year.
A lot of people love that.
And I think...
But there's sometimes the films just
don't...
Films that they don't have faith in for some reason get released early in the year.
Yeah.
And even though they're great movies, I think... Wasn't Side Effects, Soderbergh's Side Effects, a January movie?
It was a really early movie, and Side Effects is a great movie.
It is.
Very great, and that's underrated.
It's disturbing. It's a great thriller.
Very disturbing. And yeah, that was an early one. And I'm trying to think, was Steve Jobs an early?
It was October.
That did come out later, but that's another case of just tanking, falling under the radar. But
it did as good as Jim and the Holograms did in theaters.
And no one remember. It's like, I can't even consider that a movie hardly.
But no one, not many people remember Steve Jobs, and that was a great movie.
I think Zodiac and Steve Jobs are honestly, and I really hope this is the case because I know a lot of people that love both of them, me being one of them and Jeff as well. I consider those American masterpieces as far as this like last 20 years. So hopefully.
But I think, I don't know what happened with Zodiac, but I think what happened with Steve Jobs was everyone had shell shock memories from that god awful piece of shit movie Ashton Kutcher made.
Yeah.
If that's what happened, that's understandable because that was trash. But the sad thing is, they had the bitter leftovers of that to deal with when they made Steve Jobs, and that's the risk they were running when they made that.
Well, yeah. I mean, they kind of came at it late at the game. Like, there had already been a movie out. And I don't think a lot of people saw the Ashton Kutcher one. People have seen it, but it wasn't, like, that big of a thing. But I think it was just kind of confusion. Oh, is that the same movie? Oh, another movie on Steve Jobs? I mean,
it is not the same movie.
No, it's definitely not.
Yeah.
Because Steve Jobs was probably one of the only films recently I'd give an A+ to.
It feels like a modern Shakespearean scale play.
Yeah.
And it's
a stylized play is what it is.
Yeah.
But it's so powerfully acted and wonderfully written.
Fassbender, Seth Rogen, like, who knew he could do really good acting when you start doing stuff with Franco and Company or bullshit like Sausage Party, which was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I heard about how deep it was, and it was not. It was a piece of shit.
How deep?
Yeah, it has a lot of deep meaning, and I think by deep meaning that was code for it makes fun of religion. But just because something makes fun of religion doesn't mean it's deep. It's.
Dude, I watched the first 15 minutes of Sausage Party, and I had to turn it off. I was repulsed.
It was disgusting.
And I'll be the first to tell you, I mean, clearly if you've listened to me on these podcasts, dirty humor, okay, I can get down with some R-rated humor.
Yeah.
But that movie was repulsive. It was way disgusting.
It was. Vulgarity is good if you can make it work.
Yeah.
Like with a story or if it's used to help with a story or if it makes sense for it to be there. The vulgarity here was them just shoving vulgarity onto a script.
I don't think you can substitute vulgarity for lack of comedy to make up for the fact that you can't write a good joke.
Okay, question. This is the barometer I like to use for what a good vulgar movie is. Kevin Smith's Clerks.
Yeah.
Why did that work? And that's an incredibly vulgar movie. And why didn't Sausage Party work?
Well, one, Clerks has a heart, and wears it on its sleeve. Also, Clerks is more realistic. Personally.
But what makes the vulgarity work better with it?
That's how we were to say it.
Vulgarity that day.
Vulgarity.
Pardon my stroke. But the vulgarity, I
don't know. You tell me.
I think it's...
You're the huge fan of that movie. I love it, but
it feels like it felt real. It felt like it was the conversations as gross as they could get. they felt like conversations that they would actually have.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like the conversations were trying to play for laughs, even though when he was writing the script, he knew that people would laugh, but it didn't seem to be actively seeking out laughs.
Yeah.
It seems to be a plausible conversation that people would have.
Yeah.
Not ham-fisted. Like, one of the plots, the main character is Seth Rogen's sausage character, and then who's acting alongside Kristen Wiig's hot dog bun, and a running joke they have is, "Oh, I can't wait to put myself in your bun. Oh, we're gonna touch each other. Yeah, but just the tips. Just the tips." They're like repeating that joke, and it's so fucking stupid. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't feel like they put vulgarity before any story. They put dirty jokes before. Let's say if Toy Story, for instance, was made for adults and it was vulgar, it would have worked, because even without vulgarity, there's still the story of the toy who's been king of the castle for a long time. He's Andy's favorite toy. Suddenly, oh shit, Buzz Lightyear arrives. And then there's jealousy there, and then the other toys in the room think he kills Buzz Lightyear. If it was made with an adult sensibility and written by Kevin Smith, it would still work, because there'd still be that basis, and the vulgarity would be incidental to what the story is. And in Sausage Party, the vulgarity isn't incidental to what the story is. The vulgarity is the point. It's, look at us, we're being edgy because we're being vulgar and making jokes about it, and there's no story to back it up. There's nothing to support it. The vulgarity is a house built upon the sand.
Yeah, Sausage Party blows.
Yeah.
Yeah, no good.
I fucking hated Sausage Party.
Yeah.
I
was almost offended.
It was.
And that's saying something.
It was people that thought it was deep. Shut the fuck up. I mean, I don't want to be intolerant of other people's opinions, but shut the fuck up. Sausage Party. That's a movie I think many people overrated.
Yeah, that's an overrated movie.
Like, by audiences, I'm not sure what the critics. I haven't looked at the critical score.
No, it's a pretty good rating on critics.
You're serious?
I mean, it's like a high 60s or low 70s on Rotten Tomatoes.
I would have put that in the 20s, because I knew some would.
Yeah.
The only thing I thought was funny is there's a chewed up piece of gum that looks like Stephen Hawking.
And I kind of like the Woody Allen donut or bagel.
The Woody Allen.
Yeah, that was kind of funny.
Yeah, but that's not enough for us to say that we like it.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing with I was thinking about the recent Godzilla, which had a really awesome ending for Godzilla. Awesome. But that movie freaking blowed.
There's a couple of things that they could have done that would have fixed the film. If they kept it in the time period of where the beginning of the film was with Bryan Cranston, and they'd never bring in Aaron Johnson, they'd just keep his character a kid, and the main character is Bryan Cranston's character trying to figure out how to deal with Godzilla.
Hell yeah.
That would have been great.
Yeah, because he can actually hold his own.
And if they gave the creatures more time, and and integrate them with the people, it felt like it didn't. I never was fully convinced that the people in the movie and the monsters in the movie were there at the same time. It felt like there's people and then the monster. The old movies were kind of like that, but when there were the scenes with the people, I felt the presence of Godzilla still there.
Yeah.
And when the people were in this the modern Godzilla movie, it felt like, okay, Godzilla is a CG thing that's not here right now.
Yeah.
But the other movie, the old movies, Godzilla was a man in a suit. But I felt a dread that, oh, he's nearby, they better leave. Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's...
I'm all for a little suspense for when the big creature shows up. But man, I think there was about, in that 2-hour movie, there was like, what, maybe 10 minutes of Godzilla? I remember thinking, what the hell? I got gypped here.
Yeah.
And even like even like King Kong, Peter Jackson's, I think King Kong doesn't come until halfway through the movie. But then there's a shit ton of King Kong scenes after that. And like I said, I don't mind a little suspense leading up to. But come on, give us the freaking monster.
What do you think of Skull Island?
I thought it blowed. There was some good stuff about it, but I think a movie was just, it's the epitome of wasted potential. I think maybe with like a better director.
Who directed this one?
A guy, I don't remember his name, but he made a movie with Michael Douglas called King of California, I think. And the idea sounds great. It's right after Vietnam, and a group of renegade Vietnam soldiers come in with some scientists to do some checking on this island that they've just found first record of. That they think they could find some, new life form. That sounds great.
It does.
I mean, who doesn't want to see that? Are you kidding? Apocalypse Now meets freaking, King Kong? Sweet. And
that sounds amazing.
And it kind of started off awesome, although...
Does it have that Apocalypse Now vibe?
Oh, for the first bit, yeah, it definitely does. And then it just, it just was too meh. And obviously there were some fun parts to it, and I will say they got to the Kong action pretty quick. Like 1 minute, bam, they're arriving. Next minute, all of a sudden, Kong is like swinging a tree at them, which is pretty awesome. Yeah. But it still needed more Kong, and the effects were stupid with some of the animals, and Tom Hiddleston was like, I love the character that he played, because if it were played with anyone who had an ounce of charisma, it would have been a fun character.
I'm not a huge fan of Tom Hiddleston.
I can't say I hate him, but I'm starting to really hate him though, and because he sucked in this. It just wasn't the right. Like this was a role that was tailor made for a guy like Charles Bronson, or like Tom Hardy, or if we're thinking new people, someone who actually has a bit of charisma. John C. Reilly was funny in it, although
he seems outplaced in the trailer.
John C. Reilly always, just as of late, just seems to play the same like buffoon character.
Yeah. Which
was charming the first few times, and yeah, I mean, at least he's kind of funny in this, but and actually his part of the story is more integral to the plot than I thought it would be, but it just was meh. And I love a big blockbuster movie. I do, but man, they're making shitty ones lately. Jurassic World,
it's CG overload.
It is, and
like they used to do use real practical effects like puppetry, and CG might be included, but it wouldn't be the only trick they had in their deck.
People are like, what? People are like, what? You don't like big budget like blockbuster films? No, I do. Jurassic Park, bro.
Not to be confused with Jurassic World.
Yeah, not to be confused with Jurassic World. Jurassic World is so bad. There's no heart in that movie whatsoever. You pair that, I don't know. Okay, I remember when I said
it's the worst of the Jurassic Park movies.
To Jurassic Park. You can't compare it to Jurassic Park because Jurassic Park's amazing. Yeah, you're right, but it still has the name Jurassic, so I'm gonna.
You can't compare it to Jurassic Park. It is part of the series. Yeah, it's
the same
in
part
that
of the movie.
World too.
And dude, you watch Jurassic Park. Every scene is great in that.
Yes.
The opening scene, shoot! Like such great suspense, and everything is so cinematic and well done. The whole scene, starting with the water, the trickle that ends up into them going out of power, and then the first arrival of that T-Rex. I was watching that scene. There wasn't any scene in Jurassic World that was an eighth as good as 2 minutes of that scene. And that scene from Jurassic Park went on for like 15, 20 minutes. Great scene. But perfect. They used CG and they used animatronic puppets.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. Animatronic puppets are probably a lot more expensive and hard to do now. But man, computer graphics, they are just way overdoing them. They really are.
When you have a real thing on screen, you get rewarded with an actual when it's a human being, they call it it's the uncanny valley, where it's hard to get over how it's not there, or it's fake.
Yeah.
It's like it's why I can't take Rogue One that seriously, even though it's a good movie otherwise. When they have the PlayStation 2 version of Peter Cushing
and Carrie Fisher
and the Snapchat Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher looks like a Snapchat filter in that fucking movie. It was disgraceful. It's hard for me to take it seriously. And to a degree, even though it's not as jarring when it's not a human being, the same kind of it's not the term was coined for how people. It's like people. There's a slight sense of revulsion when someone perceives something that's almost a human but not.
Yeah.
The same thing applies, although it can't be called the uncanny valley because it was specifically the term was specifically coined for human beings. But a similar thing when there's constant CGI in the film, and you look up and you're like, oh yeah, that's not real. They can't. I don't think they will ever master computer graphics enough for people to just be able to completely ignore it, unless the entire film is a cartoon, like Finding Dory or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But when it's supposed to be in the real world,
yeah,
you have to have something real there. You have to work to make the illusion.
It's definitely something that's not perfected yet, and I don't think it ever will be.
It's hard to think it will be.
Yeah.
It's not cheesy like the Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston, where it's basically like the plagues or whatever, or God or whatever Moses is up against in the movie on Mount Sinai. They're straight up cartoons,
yeah.
And then the parting of the Red Sea is like cartoon waves.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember hearing how great that movie was, and then I caught it on TV once, and like, you gotta be kidding me.
Also, I love that movie.
Even for the era, it's cheesy. But maybe I should watch it again. You say you love the movie. I shouldn't like.
It's just epic.
I need to see it again.
Scale. That's just like the epitome of epic. But
I need to see it again then.
It's good. I just remember.
But let's it's 9:55.
Okay. But then let's kind of wrap it up. We'll have a way we can wrap it up. Talk.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, Ten Commandments is just such an epic movie, and I love the colors, and it's one that I can never quite watch from beginning to end, but I love putting it on and watching it, and even not being like a really religious person, it's still just an awesome story, and the visuals are great. It's just one of those grand epics.
That reminds me, I saw a news story the other day about these people who slaughtered 9 lambs outside of Auschwitz, and people were freaking out. And I understand it. See, I don't think what my thoughts are on it were the intention of the people. So people freaking out about it is completely justified. But part of me was wondering. I wonder if some Jewish people came up there and did that as a Passover celebration, because the story of Passover is when God came to smite Egypt for keeping the Israelites prisoners, their slaves, God told Moses to let the Jews know that they needed to kill a lamb and wipe their doorways with the lamb's blood, and God would spare the Jewish people in the house, in their homes, and he would only kill the firstborn children of each Egyptian household, because they refused to release the Jewish prisoners. And I was wondering if the lamb slaughter at Auschwitz was intended to mirror the Passover story, or we'll never know because there were random people who did it. But we're kind of near Easter and Passover now.
Yeah.
Which are, I think, kind of a concurrent holiday. One is the resurrection, one is the lamb's blood on the door, firstborn Egyptian. Anyway.
And on that note, next time you want to celebrate, just kill a lamb and smear your door with blood. This has been Ben Eastman
and Jeff Crenshaw
for Heavy Set Go.
Go! Whoa, 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 whoa.
This is